I love, love, love this compost bin. It is 100% cedar where the compost contacts the wood. The top is normal, non-heat treated dimensional lumber. It's got a corrugated roof on it that protects it from heavy rains so your compost doesn't get soaked and start to rot and smell. It's got these removable slats in the front so that as I'm taking compost out, it is much easier to remove these, get at that compost, get it into my sifter and sift it out. So today we're going to talk about how I built this compost bin. It is a warm and windy day here in South Texas. It is mid-April. It's actually Masters Golf weekend, so really I should be inside with a cold beer watching the golf, but I love you guys, and we're going to make this video. If you're a subscriber, welcome back. If you're new to my channel, my name is Riley. Welcome to my garden, and today we're going to talk about how I built my compost bin. I only purchased 2 items when I built the base of the compost bin. We're going to talk about the roof at the midway part of this video. But to build the base of the compost bin, I purchased at Lowe's these 2x4 rough cut pieces of lumber, cedar. And I purchased 16 1-inch by 6-inch by 6-foot cedar fence pickets. Now, they're not really an inch thickness. They're only 0.6 inches, but they're described as 1 inch by 6 inch by 6 feet. These cedar boards, normally when you buy dimensional lumber like this, when you buy dimensional lumber like 2x4s or anything that you're doing for regular work around your house, they're not really 2 inches by 4 inches. They're 1.5 inches by 3.5 inches. But this is rough cut cedar. So the actual dimensions on this are 2 inches by 4 inches. I bought 4 of these and I bought 16 of these, and that was all I needed to build the base structure of that compost bin. I want to talk a little bit about why I chose a 2-bin system versus a 3-bin system. Number one, I didn't really have space for a 3-bin system. But what I found out even with my 2-bin system, my garden is a year-round garden. We don't typically get a frost here. So I apply compost to all of my garden beds 2 times a year. Once before the spring planting and once before the fall planting. And with that 2-bin compost system that I've built, I make more than enough compost to put 1 inch to 2 inches of compost on all of these beds twice a year. So if you don't have a lot of space in your backyard, please don't think that you need to build a 3-bin compost system. This small 6-foot by 3-foot by 3-foot 2-bin system makes more than enough compost for this garden all year long. When I built this compost bin, I built it in 5 sections or 5 steps for the base of this compost bin. First step, first section is the back wall, which is just 6 feet wide with 1 inch by 1 inch cedar posts that are 42 inches long. 1 on either end and 2 in the center. Now, how did I get those 1 inch by 1 inch cedar posts? I just cut this 2x4 lumber right down the middle. Then I cut them to 42 inches. I line them up on some sawhorses, and I equally spaced my 6-foot fence pickets down those 42 inches. I didn't use exact measurements for the spacing because cedar fence pickets are not exactly 6 inches wide. Some are a little bit taller, some are a little bit smaller. It really didn't matter anyway. You can't see the back wall, and to be honest, it's not a big deal. I just wanted some airflow through the sides. So I eyeballed it. I made sure the top and the bottom were level, and then all I did was I screwed those in with 1 1/4 inch screws. I'm going to cut to some B-roll so you can see what I was doing. I actually made a video of this before, but the sound cut out on me, so I could never finish that video, but we're going to finish it today. Step 2 when I was building this compost bin was to build the side wall. And I already had a 1 inch by 1 inch post here. so I didn't need another one. So the only thing I did was I cut a 1" by 1" post, thank you Jolie and Bella for barking, to 36 inches. Sorry about that. I again just spaced out 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of these fence pickets, cut 36 inches long evenly, and I just screwed them in from one side. I carried this over to this, I propped this all up, and then I screwed in that side. In each fence post here, fence picket, I put in 2 screws. So 2 screws down this side in each picket, 2 screws down that side in each picket. And with those first 2 steps, I had a freestanding structure because I had the back and I had the side wall, and this would then stand on its own. Step 3 when I was building this structure was I duplicated this side over to this side and just screwed it in. Once I'd done the first one, this one came really quickly because I had already done it once. And I just came over here and I screwed it in to the side of my back wall. I now had a 6-foot back wall that was 42 inches tall. I had 2 side walls that were 36 inches tall by 36 inches long. And all I needed to do then was to insert the middle section, which is step 4. And this is exactly the same as the sidewall, except all I did was I took an extra 1" by 1" post. I put one on the inside and one on the outside. I slid that right into place, and I just put in 2 screws from either side all the way down to the bottom of the compost bin. At that point in time, I had a 2-bin system, and all that was left was to add some runners and insert the slats, and that's what we're going to talk about now. The only thing I had left to do at this point was I needed to assemble the front in such a way that I would be able to take these slats, slide them in place. So as the level of my compost went down, I could take these slats out and be able to get at my compost easier. I did this with what I'll just call runners, which is essentially 2 pieces of wood side by side that were set up with a 0.75 inch gap between them, running all the way down so that I could easily slide these pickets in between them. I made a mistake when I built this though, and that I thought I would get creative, and rather than using a 1" by 1" post on this side, I went ahead and I cut this on my table saw to 1/2 inch. And that was a mistake because as your compost fills, the bin separates or spreads out a little bit. And sometimes with only a 1/2 inch runner on the back side, these slats will fall inside. So this year I'll be replacing these back runners with a full 1" by 1" post. The process, I didn't do this before I assembled it. All you need to do is, once it's assembled, come over with a 36 inch piece of 1" by 1" post, put it 0.75 inches away from the front post, and screw it in all the way down the side of your compost bin. Do that on either side in each bay. Take your remaining 5 pieces of 6-foot fence pickets, cut them to 35 inches, and they will slide right in like that. All right, let's start talking about how I made the roof of this compost bin. The roof is made out of corrugated plastic roofing, and you purchase sort of a kit. You purchase the panel itself, which comes 26 inches wide by 8 feet long. Then you purchase the same brand of these struts that go underneath each of the corrugated sheets. And to screw it all together to your frame, you just purchase these same brand specialized screws with some rubber washers in them. And they screw in every 8 to 12 inches or however frequently you want to do it. And that little washer, the rubber washer, prevents any rain from leaking down through into your compost. I'll go ahead and put in the video description all the details of this material that I purchased. Now, to build the frame that this roof attaches to, we want it to be, let me start over though. The frame I built out of scrap wood I had in my tool shop, my woodworking shop, also known as my garage. If I were going to build this frame from scratch, here's exactly how I would do it. I would build the frame out of 1 inch by 1 inch furring strips. This is non-pressure treated lumber. It's easy to work with, it's inexpensive, and I would buy 4 of these. Sorry, I would buy 5 of these. And your roof for this is going to be 6 feet 4 inches long, so that you have a 2-inch overhang on each side, and it's going to be 40 inches wide, so that we have some overhang over the front. Now, I'll put up a graphic right now of how I would build this, but let me lift this up because it's going to be easier for me to show you by lifting this up and showing you the underside. So what we want to do is we want to build a frame 6 feet 4 inches long. So you're going to take 3 furring strips and you're going to cut them to 6 feet 4 inches long. Coming vertically down, and you'll see it in the graphic right now, we're going to need 4 pieces of furring strip cut 40 inches long. And you want to align these so that they line up with your side posts, your middle posts, and your other side posts. You're going to screw those all together, flip that over, and then all you're going to have to do is attach these plastic guides to each furring strip by screwing them into the wood every 6 to 8 inches. You're going to lay your corrugated plastic right on top of that, then use these screws to screw them right into place. The final step I did was I picked up 4 4-inch hinges from Lowe's. I came out, I placed my roof on top of my bin, and I just screwed those hinges in place. Job done. My compost bin has been just amazing, amazing, amazing. The way that I use it, I fill up one side, let it fill all the way up, it will compress a little, I'll add more material. Normally takes me about 3 months to fill up one side. I then transfer it into the other side, flip it over, and I let it sit for another 3 months, and then that compost is ready to use. In those 3 months that this side is finishing, I'm filling up this side with grass clippings and paper shavings and bedding from my chicken coop, and it's just a rotating cycle. You know, every 6 months, twice a year, I have more than enough compost to fill all the beds in my garden. My name is Riley. Thank you for watching. If you're not a subscriber, please hit that subscribe button and don't forget to ring that bell. And if you enjoyed the video, please share it. It helps the channel a lot.